Back in July, I made a video covering one of my most favourite games from my childhood, Mario Kart Wii. At the end of that video, I spoke about a follow-up to that video centred around the other Mario Kart game that had an impact on my life. And that game was...
Mario Kart 7!
I have very fond memories of playing Wii as a child, but I have even fonder memories of seeing Mario Kart 7 everywhere I went. This was when I saw a brand new Mario Kart title for the very first time. I remember the very first time I ever played Mario Kart 7 was on a 3DS display at Toys R Us, believe it or not, and somehow, I bossed it on the very first try. Roughly 12 years later, I managed to get my hands on my very own 3DS and play Mario Kart 7 again after the series suddenly became really relevant in my life again. So, grab your seat and come along with me as we take a look back at one of the more forgotten entries in this beloved gaming series. This is the Mario Kart 7 Retrospective. ...2011 saw the release of not just Mario Kart 7, but also the release of the console it was made for, the Nintendo 3DS. This new handheld console was a development of the existing Nintendo DS, and was released at the very beginning of the 8th generation of video game consoles, which began during the midst of the 7th generation. Almost 76 million units were sold in its 9-year lifespan, with the highest sales rate occurring in 2013. Unlike Mario Kart Wii, which was released a couple of years after its console was released, Mario Kart 7 was released the same year as its console launch, and, as the name suggests, it was the 7th installment in the Mario Kart franchise. The game featured a plethora of new and returning features. Famously, vehicle customization, gliders, and underwater driving debuted in this game. In previous installments, whenever you would fall into the water, it would be treated like a crash, plummeting below the water and being rescued by Lakitu. Now in this game, you're able to drive underwater in designated course paths. Some more features included brand new items. These included the Fire Flower, which lets you shoot fireballs at other racers, or in some cases oncoming shells, that Stupid Leaf, and interestingly, the Lucky 7, which gives you access to 7 essential items to use. This latter item will be upgraded into the Crazy 8 for Mario Kart 8 3 years later. The game was released between the 1st and 4th of December in this order: Japan, Europe, Australia, and North America. The game received generally good reviews upon release, and even became the highest selling game on the Nintendo 3DS. Now that we know the history, let's get into specifics. The question I posed at the end of my Wii video was, is Mario Kart 7 better than Wii? Well, now that I've played the game, is it? Not really. Don't get me wrong, the game is very enjoyable in places, but playing this and Wii back to back, 7 feels really, for lack of a better term, scaled back. We'll cover everything one by one, starting with the new mechanics. The new underwater driving is fun and all, and it does open many doors for course opportunities, even though it led to some courses being tarnished, but I'll get to that. Not to mention it puts your driving skills to the test with how it feels stiffer and tougher to control now. Gliding, on the other hand, is just kinda... there. It's fine, don't get me wrong, but it does feel somewhat pointless, and it comes across as, look at us, we added flying to Mario Kart. Now, I understand that this is totally down to technical limitations, but I don't really like some of the character animations. Compared to Wii, these animations feel a bit scaled back and a bit lazy in some cases. The sound design, on the other hand, is even more lazy. The countdown sound effects are taken from Wii. The item roulette sounds are taken from Wii. The majority of the characters' voice lines are taken from Wii. Or even Double Dash in some cases. The winning results music is taken from Wii! Are you sensing a pattern here? As for new items, I didn't really care for them. The fire flower is literally just a less effective version of the shells, and I cannot stand the super leaf. Not only is it utterly useless most of the time, but you have it for so long and you can't even pick up other items while it's equipped, unless one of the AI players just so happens to throw a shell at you or strike you with lightning, which happens very rarely. On a much lighter note, let's cover the new vehicle customization feature. This is honestly the coolest new thing 7 did. You now have the option to pick a body, wheels and glider of your choice, which can of course lead to the fastest car in the game. Or, if speed isn't the name of the game in your book, you can just create the ugliest fucking car on the planet. So yeah, that's it for gameplay. And not a very good one at that. Moving on. Just when you thought the gameplay was a letdown, here comes the character roster to be even more of a letdown. So who have we got? We have the basic bitches, only one Kong this time around, Dinosaur Boy, Daisy, who's my main in this game, and of course... Now let's begin the new character section by talking about one of the strangest decisions, Lakitu. Schaefer has already said this before, but making the Mario Kart referee a playable character while retaining him as the referee really does rub me the wrong way. Now I get that there are canonically multiple Lakitus in the Mario universe, but that doesn't stop this choice from being a bit out of the ordinary, and not in a good way. Next up we have Wiggler. Now he's one of the better choices for characters in this game. It is rather fun to drive as him, and I kind of like how oversized he is compared to other characters. It's so funny. Honey Queen, on the other hand... And then we got Metal Mario, aka the character with the distorted voice and the best stats in the game. I'm gonna just say right now that Metal Mario doesn't really do it for me. One, because he isn't exactly anything brand new, he's just Mario with a silver texture. And two, he's not Funky Kong, alright? Don't worry, plenty of video game characters have that issue. As for courses, it's the standard fare. 16 brand new, 16 brand old. Of these, we got 1 from Super Circuit, 2 from Super and Double Dash, 3 from 64, and 4 from both DS and Wii. Now unlike my Wii video, we'll start with the Nitros first and then move on to the Retros. If the gameplay for this game was a letdown, then the courses absolutely compensate for that. So many courses like Rock Mountain and Piranha Plant Slide are really exhilarating and fun, and Neo Bowser City, I'll never understand why so many people hate this one, because it's really cool. Then we get to the Retros. Of course, as a Wii boy, I'm happy to see Mushroom Gorge, Coconut Mall, Maple Treeway and Cooper Cape come back, even though with the latter, they absolutely tarnished its best aspect just to shoehorn some underwater driving in. As for the rest, the 3 N64 tracks are solid enough, the 2 SNES choices were actually well thought out for once, the Double Dash choices are alright, could have been a bit better, but also could have been worse. But as for the DS choices, Jeepers Creepers, what a selection. Boston Building, Airship Fortress, DK Park.
Who invited that kid?
And then we have the magical Waluigi Pinball. I'd be lying if I said I didn't play the Banana Cup just to drive Waluigi Pinball. It's exhilarating. The music slaps every time. The action-packed nature jolts me awake all the time. The only issue I could muster from Waluigi Pinball being in this game is that the man himself isn't actually a playable character. Honey Queen was just way more important, am I right? Now, I'm not going to make the same mistake I made in my Wii video and barely bring up Rainbow Road, because this game's Rainbow Road is quite possibly the most beautiful experience in any Mario Kart game. You're not really racing on this course as much as you are going on an adventure, exploring the wonders of space in a bright, colourful highway, all as you listen to, quite possibly, the most tear-jerkingly magical Rainbow Road theme in history. Back when I was exclusively a Wii boy, I never thought much of this game's Rainbow Road because I honestly felt it was just far too overhyped. But then I played it for the first time, and holy shit, that shut me up really fast. In summary, this game's track selection is solid, exhilarating, and in some cases, pure magic. The term I'm going to use to summarise this game is a very mixed bag. While the gameplay, character roster and new features were something of a disappointment for me, everything else is completely top notch. I do manage to get a good thrill out of this game every time I play it, but I still hate that fucking leaf. Now this video was supposed to be the big end to my Mario Kart retrospective, as I said I'd only cover the games that I experienced playing. But for my birthday this year, I got another game in this series, and I think I'll save my retrospective on that for a very distant day, as it's gonna be a wild ride.